Grand rising and welcome to New Mind, where our intention is clear and is to share information for transformation. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this podcast or watch it wherever you may be in the world. I just want to take a moment and really thank you from the bottom of my heart for making time for yourself, for showing up and taking this information, and with the intention to really create some shift within your mind. And today's topic is really near and dear to me because it's all about creating a new mind. And it's obviously tied in with my brand. I'm wearing the top right here, which is New Mind, which stands for health, freedom, and power. So New Mind is, as I said, it's near and dear to me because the concept, the idea, the name, the brand itself, what it means to me, and what it's actually done for me in my life, along with the clients and students I've worked with over the years, it's really about understanding the depth of our mind and also understanding that in order to create something new, we need a new mind. And that was my story, my journey, going back 8-9 years ago when I wanted to create something new. I realized I had this epiphany moment that I cannot create that new reality, the new life that I wanted with the current mind I had, with the mindset I had. And I want to start with, first of all, understanding, and I use this metaphor a lot if you've been listening to me or watching my content for over the years, is the ability to understand that the mind is like a software and the brain and the body is the hardware. However, the brain and the body in this context is actually the subconscious mind, right? So the conscious mind is the mind, but also it is an amalgamation of it all together. But I like to always use this metaphor. The mind is the software, the brain is the hardware. But through the mind, you're able to make specific changes within the body. And I mean literally biological changes, physiological changes, because everything starts in the mind. And if I want to break this podcast down and why I want you to hear and to be here till the end is because I'm going to share with you guys some important points that also you can gauge on where you are, and also some important information that will help you take steps towards creating a new mind, which ultimately creates a new life experience, a new reality, a new timeline. So let me start by first stating the obvious. Most people in the past, perhaps still some people think this today, that we are hardwired, right? We cannot change the identity. We cannot change our mindset. We cannot change the personality. But with new modern science today, it is obviously, without a doubt, proven that we are able to rewire ourselves. We are able to actually change the structure of the brain through what we call neuroplasticity. And this is super important because neuroplasticity ultimately is the ability to change the way the brain looks and how we think and feel and how we perceive reality. And this is super important. I'm actually pretty much hyped up about this topic because I just finished a recent master workshop here in Dubai around this particular topic, which was actually sharing with the men. It was a men's workshop, how to shape, shift, and change your brain through neuroplasticity, through the science of priming. And it's so powerful when you learn the science and understand that there are certain steps that you can take that literally shape shifts your identity. And when you do that, what you're actually doing is you're releasing the old identity and stepping into the future self. And a lot of people don't comprehend that, but it's actually quite simple. First and foremost is defining what that future self is, and then ultimately then taking the steps towards embodying and framing and changing and priming within the mind's eye, internal work that starts to create that future self, that identity. Now, there's a process, as I mentioned, to create a new mind. There's multiple things that one needs to do in order to elevate their mind, elevate their new software that will ultimately create a new way of being, a new form of behavior that will lead them to the future that they want. And this is for those of you who feel stuck, those of you who feel that they're repeating the same things over and over again, and they feel that they can't change, either their reality, their timeline, their relationships, work, career, whatever it is that you want to change in your life, you first need to understand that you cannot change with the same level of mind that you're at. So you need a whole new mind. Hence why my practice and my brand is about new mind. And of course, I have multiple pillars to the New Mind brand that we do as a wellness brand. But the idea is, in the practitioner work I do, in the coaching work I do, it's all about developing a new mind. So wherever you are, what is needed is an element of a new level of mind, which will produce the results you want in your life. And one important element for creating a new mind is letting go of the limiting beliefs, letting go of the past trauma, letting go of the negative programming. And this is the work. This is part of the work. This is part of developing and creating a new mind, because the current mind that is within you, the current mindset, the mind that you have, remember, it's a set. We call it mindset. Why? Because it's a set of programs. It's a set of identity and internal perceptions. And the work itself, as part of it, one of the key areas is, first of all, learning about the mind, understanding that there are processes that can allow us to change and literally go deep within us to let go of those limiting perceptions, limiting beliefs around our own identity, what is possible and what's not possible for us. Then there's another layer to it, which is the trauma. Trauma is a big word used a lot, unfortunately, sometimes misused. But what is trauma? Trauma, in a nutshell, is certain experiences in your life that had a heightened emotional charge, which your brain takes a screenshot of it and makes you think and feel a certain way. And you get stuck within that experience. You get stuck within that moment in time. Part of you stays there because you haven't processed the emotions associated with that experience. I'll repeat that one more time. The release of trauma, in a nutshell, without getting into the depth of it, is the ability to release the emotional charge and the meaning of that experience in the past and then moving forward, right? Because if we don't, there's a part of us that stays in that. And anything that resembles that trauma in life, in the current life, it brings up that mind. It brings up that old mind, the mind that you don't want in the future in order to create something new. And that, what I call sometimes, is negative programming, right? It's certain limitations that we are reinforcing on our day-to-day. So that is some of the areas or some of the work that is required in order to create a new level of mind. So that enables us to raise your consciousness from this survival mode to what I call a creative mode. You know, it's also invites an empowered mind, right, versus the victim mind. And all of us have fell victim to this experience, excuse the pun here, but it's the understanding that if we unconsciously or consciously blame something in our life for something outside of us, then that is disempowering us, because we're giving our power away to something that is holding us victim to a specific level of being, thinking, feeling, right? And in order for us to break free from that, we also have to cultivate a new level of mind. And that level of mind is an empowered mind, is in a mind that takes responsibility for everything in their life. Yeah, you take responsibility for everything in your life. And I'm not saying that certain things that have happened to you in the past is your fault. No, it's not that. It's just the ability not to blame and to give power to something outside of you, and rather, what are you going to do about it today? And what can you learn from that experience so it doesn't happen again? Because a lot of times I work with clients who have the same experience, same loop, same trauma that tends to keep showing up. And the reason that happens is because they've never healed and never really processed the old trauma, and they're stuck in the victim mind. They're stuck in that victim experience. So letting go of that and doing the deep work, this is an area, of course, I focus on, which will help up-level and upgrade the mind, which I call the new mind now, which is more of an empowered mind, a mind that's looking forward into the future. So that is another key element to developing a new mind, right? I hope you're making note here, guys. And by the way, if you are watching this is a new channel on YouTube. Please subscribe, like, and share. I want to grow this channel. I have a great reach on audio streams, but I'm wanting to introduce the visual aspect of it as well, and to grow this channel. So if you are enjoying this, take a moment, please, and just, if you don't mind, subscribe. And if you're listening to this on the stream, also subscribe, because my intention is to keep sharing value. And that's how we grow the channel, how we grow this movement together. So just a little note here on the side as I continue this conversation with you. So what else is required? What else do we need to develop a new level of mind? And one attitude, should I say, or one practice is starting to have more intention with what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. And the power of intention is so important, guys, to develop a new level of mind, because what intention does, it sets the tone for where you focus your attention. And in order to develop a new mind and to go beyond the old way of thinking, is having intention in everything you do, how you start your day, how you start your conversation, how you go into certain experiences, and what is the intention behind that? What are you looking to achieve? That will help dramatically in starting to develop a new way of focus, a new way of being. So remember, intention for me is specifically in my model of the world is a big key ingredient to developing a whole new level of mind. So ask yourself, as I speak to you now or as you watch this, are you an intentional person? Do you have intention with everything you do? Is there a vision, a mission, an outcome that you're seeking in your day-to-day, in your week-to-week, in your month-to-month, in your year, whatever that is? Do you have intention with what you're doing? And it doesn't necessarily mean on every single thing, but it has to be within your realm. It has to be within your focus, right? Because if we don't have intention, we're just cruising through life and we become more reactional to experiences. We become less focused and more distracted. So the power of intention in my model of the world, I see that as a very, very powerful practice to move into a new level of mind, right? Like I do with this podcast. Again, my intention here is to share information. But it's not just a conversation. There is tips, there's insights. So it's information for transformation. If you apply the information I share throughout the podcast, even in season 1, before I rebranded in Rising Minds, a lot of the solo podcasts I did and some of the guests that I brought on was always with the intention to share things that are practical, things that can actually move the needle in your life. So we're adding to that key to develop a new level of mind. Intention is key. Then there's the element of what I just mentioned earlier, which is the priming, the mental rehearsal, the getting clear with shaping your reality. What does it look like? And why do you actually want it, right? Those are important elements that starts to point the mind to a direction. So in order for us to develop a new mind, we have to give a reason why we want a new mind to be developed within us. Why do we want a new software? What are we doing? Why are we doing it? And then mentally priming that future through daily practices. And that could be through visualization, through meditation, even journaling is super powerful. And that anchors the new mind, right? You're almost reconditioning yourself. You're programming yourself. And these are obviously easy ways of just getting that momentum going. So that's another element. Ask yourself, do you journal? Do you meditate? Do you sit down and spend time to prime or visualize? This is an area I specialize in. And like I said in the master workshop, it was incredible to see men practicing that, and they continue to practice that. And it's just so, so powerful and so important. And another important ingredient around creating a new level of mind, creating a new mind, is the importance of emotional alignment. And this is an area where a lot of people tend to forget about the importance of emotional intelligence and developing emotional intelligence, but also understanding how to process their emotions, understanding that there is work to be done in terms of emotional alignment. and what that looks like. Because the most important thing to remember is that if we're not emotionally aligned, then we are living in the past. We're living in the old programming of the old mind. So understanding that we need to condition our body, which speaks to us through emotions, and connect it with that future self now. How would I feel with that future identity that I'm becoming? How would that body feel is important, because that's utilizing the neuroplasticity element of integrating that in the brain, integrating it into the body. So understanding that there's a whole world around emotions and how you feel. So the new mind also has a new emotional state. The new mind also interconnects with the physical body and how it feels, and the vibrational state and the energy, right? That's emotions. Emotions is energy. It's energy in motion, right? And understanding that emotion passes through the body, and we need to be able to know how to process that. We need to know how to be a witness to it and not get stuck in it, right? That's part of emotional intelligence, and that requires and is required to develop a new level of mind, because that's connected to your future self. That's connected to the ability to recognize that there's a part of you that is shifting from the old identity of emotions to a new identity, to a new level of mind. The other element, and I'm sharing all the elements here, and this is nice because you can gauge where you are at. Do you feel that there's certain emotions that you are stuck in? And if you are, no matter how hard you try to create a new mind, a new mindset, the emotions will always pull you back into old identity, because that's what it's addicted to. Those emotions, those chemicals, that is the feeling in the body, right? The emotion, the feeling that we feel, right? Another element is also being conscious and being intentional. Again, you see the intention, how powerful it is, but intentional of letting go of those subconscious programs, those the limitations within the mind, and making sure that the new mind has new empowering beliefs. The new mind is not holding on to old belief systems, old programming, right? So you start to work through installing and reaffirming the new way of thinking, new mind, new beliefs, new empowering beliefs, of course, that will shape shift and create that jump into a new level of mind, right? So this is all the sort of ingredients or formula, if you want to call it, that helps start to land and program and bring in a new level of consciousness, a new level of mind. And also through that process of creating a new mind is cultivating self-awareness. So to be able to be aware and to catch and shift those old thought patterns. You know, my mentors always used to say, how conscious are you of your unconscious programming? Very powerful question, right? How conscious are you of your unconscious thoughts? And those unconscious thoughts are the ones that plays in the back of the mind. Sometimes you catch it. Sometimes you're driving and you're just thinking. That is the unconscious programming. That's the unconscious thought patterns that makes you think and feel and perceive a certain way. So how aware are you of that? You know, this is a really very, very important question. So understanding that the more I have self-awareness, the more I'm able to shift and to determine and to consciously structure and create that new level of mind, the new mind, right? And again, guys, everything I'm sharing with you today is not something that just happens overnight, but it's important that it requires consistency and it requires patience. You know, in today's age, everyone wants something quick, fast, and easy. And the reality is, like everything in life, it takes time. But it's not years. This is why I love my line of work. It literally can be weeks. If you do the work, if you show up, if you are serious about cultivating a new mind and understanding that creating a new mind is a journey and not an overnight sort of process like everything else in life. So again, my message to you again today, guys, is giving you some insight on where you are in terms of the current level of mind? And is this mind that you have today delivering and creating the life you want? If it is, then you don't need a new level of mind. You don't need a new mind. But if there's something in your reality that is lacking, there's something that you want that you don't have, that you haven't manifested yet, that you want to seek, that you want to experience, then understand that that requires a whole new level of mind. And to create a new mind is what I've shared on today. To create a new mind, it requires these elements to come into play, because those elements will deliver for you in your life a new experience that is delivered and derived from that new level of mind that you create for yourself. So thank you for taking the time to watch this. Thank you for being here. And again, guys, if you are watching this, please subscribe. I really appreciate it. And again, I got some lovely DMs from some of you guys asking about certain topics. So I'm going to be taking on those topics and going deeper where I see fit. And so thank you for engaging. Thank you for commenting. And thank you for following. Much love to all of you and positive energy.